Dun, dun, dun. This is The Grill with T and Tyson. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Tonight we have John Morgan. He's a candidate for, I can't pronounce it.
For Ward Ipiihkoohkanipiaohtsi.
There you go. Thank you so much for joining us. The first question I have for you on The Grill tonight. Now, The Grill is a business and politics show that asks the in-depth and intense questions you want to ask. The first question to John tonight is, who is John Morgan?
Who is John Morgan? Well, I'm
Who
a
are
public
you, John?
servant. What's that?
Who are you?
I'm a public servant. I'm a community leader, volunteer. I've been working with the city of Edmonton for the last 14 years of my career in Edmonton Transit. Started off as a bus driver, became a train driver, dispatcher. Current role on leave is an LRT inspector, basically frontline supervisor, work in the control center. I'm a community league president. I've been community soccer coach. I sit on my kids' school council. I even run the community page on the Facebook. So I'm pretty involved in the community. Have a lot of knowledge, firsthand knowledge of how the city runs. I believe they need to be active in the community. Is that I'm running for city council in Ward Ipiihkoohkanipiaohtsi. I think leading up to that, you need to be active in the community. I think you need to be part of the community. I think you need to live in the community and have served the community ahead of time before you put your hat into this ring. Serving on the front lines is huge, and I think that's something that's really been missing in our leadership lately. Knowledge of how that city operates as well. So there's very few candidates, I think, in this whole election cycle that have that experience, and I'm looking for it myself and offering that as well. So I believe in inclusivity, compassion, respect, engagement. Accessibility of myself to you. In terms of priorities, like to really, really see an end to poverty, homelessness, houselessness. We really need to be fighting for our public service. I believe we need more engagement with our community, both those we represent and those that serve under us. I need sustainability. I think we need to be looking more for community response, more proactive solutions for homelessness and houselessness, more harm reduction, and really refocus our leadership into what's important, and what's important to me is and what I look for again in those that I hope are leading the way is that duty to serve more than ambition, blind ambition. So that's who John is, T. And I hope that resonates.
Absolutely. Tyson, before you grill, I've got one other question for John right here. And the question is, look, several other candidates are doing this. Why are you bothered? And what do you think you bring that's different from every other candidate?
Sorry, can you say that again, T? I missed part of that.
Okay, sorry. Several other candidates are running with you. What do you bring that's different, and why you bothered to run at all?
Well, like I said before, I think you need to live in the community. I think you need to have done the work in the community. I think you need to serve the community. I bring that experience that some of my competition has already in my ward. I also bring that frontline knowledge of how the city operates. I have serious concerns about privatization in our city. I come from the world of transit, and there's lots of talk of privatizing that system. We're already kind of chipping away at it right now with, we got our Valley Line LRT that's privatized. We've lost our clothing stores in the last few years. Most recently, we have 150 bus cleaners that are looking at being redeployed from their current positions to move to a private model of delivery on bus cleaners after what would be probably the worst year and a half of their lives working for the city of Edmonton. I mean, I've been on the front lines. I've seen what's been downloaded on transit, and treating our frontline staff that way is really shows a lack of compassion and knowledge of what they've been through and kind of the work that they do. So I'm not necessarily hearing all those things from my competition, but at the same time, I acknowledge that, you know, I'm white, male, straight, cisgendered man, and there's probably enough of us out there. So in leadership roles. So that's the kind of the trick here that I've kind of been kind of struggling with is there a place for me here? And I think given those other things that I think there is at this point. So that's why I'm running, and I said that combination is what I'm missing from my competition. So
Tyson, thank you.
Thank you, John. So
thank you.
To start here, I've taken a look through your platform here, and you've got, you know, the generic, you know, topics like environment, transportation, safety, policing. I mean, these are all important topics. So I'm going to dive into one here. Let's do, let me back up a spec. Across your topics, one thing you talk about a lot is infill housing. You seem to tie it into environmental, you tie it into sustainable development, community, and a few other things. So I'm getting the sense that infill housing is important to you.
Absolutely.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
So you're a proponent of infill housing. And so what I want to do is dive into the consequences of infill housing. So CBC conducted a survey earlier this year, and what they found was that 79% of respondents, most of which were in mature neighborhoods, found that infill housing caused some sort of damage to their property or some sort of negative impact, either physical or monetary, as a result of that infill housing coming. Now, as a proponent of housing, how would you manage this, the consequences of impacting the neighbors, the damage they're seeing? What are your kind of your ideas and strategies for managing this risk? Because if you're going to be pushing these programs, you're going to be essentially, it seems like there's a high proportion of people that are being negatively impacted by infill housing, whether it's, you know, financial, monetary or socially, in other words. So I put that to you there. I guess,
and I could probably throw right back at you there. Is that a consequence of infill housing or how it's managed? And I think, you know, as we, you know, much of my this new ward that I'm running in Ipiihkoohkanipiaohtsi, it's farmland, right? And so I you know, we have some of the richest farmland in the country, at least in the province surrounding us and on the south side here. So I think we really need to be cognizant of that and food security in our natural areas, and, you know, having locally sourced food, and even you know, how do we service sprawl when we can't even, you know, bring services or struggle to bring services to more established neighborhoods. So I start with that, I guess.
Okay.
You know,
so let me go back to that. So you're saying if it's not the management, how are you going to handle the managers? Let's to account.
Yeah.
Are you going to
and that's what
what are you going to do about that?
You know, there's a few kind of infill housing projects coming up in this ward right now. There's one in Ipiihkoohkanipiaohtsi coming up that there was a lot of opposition to. Sometimes I think that and honestly, it's a good project and it should go there. That's the thing. But the I guess the engagement piece of that development was completely lacking and not really consulted. People weren't consulted properly. It was more about where you place trees or color of paint, and less about you know, the actual concerns that people had, and those concerns around like services, around proximity to the school, about parking, stuff like that. And if you don't kind of address those needs that people are looking for, then yeah, you're going to get people that are pretty upset about something that you should be, I think, celebrating, is that you want more homes for people. Home housing is a big priority for me. And as I said, we have so many people that are on the brink of houselessness and homelessness, and we have so many people that are living it right now. So I think better engagement with our communities, kind of listening, less, you know, pushing an agenda that maybe administration would like to see. So.
Okay. And so
Does that answer your question, Tyson?
A little bit. So what I'm getting from it is you see that there's a lack of engagement at the community level, and that it might be preceding projects that would otherwise be unfavorable, which that's fair. But so these projects go ahead anyway, or ones that are favorable, like, let's say communities on hand. But we're seeing that, and according to the survey, this is what the CVC put out. The properties are being impacted negatively or damaged, like in some manner. And so another little tidbit of this survey is that only 14% of surveys, when they engage the administration or their counselors or whatever, were satisfied with the resolution of those issues. And I guess instead of going back to the root cause, let's say something's happened already. How are you going to manage the aftermath? Or do you have any ideas around managing the aftermath in those situations where, let's say, in your words, administration wanted to push that through, it got through, and now you're dealing with the consequences of it as a counselor, and it's in your ward, right? Do you advocate for like increased enforcement spending? Are you looking at a different approach? Just thoughts, right?
Sure. No, totally. I think that if you can be proactive in these things instead of reactive, all the better, right? So,
yeah,
mistakes are going to happen. And if you're going to have...
I'm just trying to get at the reactive piece now. So, understood, proactive. What's the reactive portion? Because you're going to be dealing with stuff left from your predecessors, right?
Oh, sure. Yeah, absolutely. So, if there needs to be an enforcement piece in that, I guess... and if that's what you're looking for, then I'm all for it. If that's what needs to be done. But
that's not what I'm looking for. What are you offering these people, right? Like, there's compliance officers, there's permits, inspectors. I'm just reading kind of what's going on in this survey here.
Yeah,
there's other methods, right? Like, you have an inventive way.
No, I think the problem is
you engage the managers themselves, the companies. Sorry, go ahead. Speak.
I think the problem is in the proactive piece. That's what we're missing, and that's what I'm seeing as a city employee myself, as a
absolutely
community member and leader. So I think that first part is really problematic right now. So
right, so you put all your weight and resources and your time and effort on addressing the proactive piece.
Absolutely, for sure. So
cool. I got another one here, T. If I can keep going.
No, I want to jump right in with this one, because what I'm hearing is that John is, what's the word? You care about social justice and inclusivity. And so I'm wondering what a future with you as Councillor Morgan will look like, being socially conscious. How would that define what you do at council?
Well, again, as I kind of noted earlier, I don't necessarily physically represent that. Again, I'm white, male, middle class, straight, cisgendered. I think you really need to empower those voices that are.
How would you do that,
communities. Though? I think you get out of the way. To be quite honest with you, I think you lift up those voices. You include the voices that are, when you're having these talks about reconciliation, or when you're talking about the attacks on Muslim women in our city that have been going on too often in this last year, you include and lift up again those voices that and kind of empower those voices, let them tell the stories. It's not about me, it's not about what I think should happen, it's more what they think should happen, and kind of follow through with that. So
okay, so that ties into this really, like, how do you appease the Black Lives Movement, Indigenous life movement, whilst at the same time you're trying to balance the interest of the police services? What does it even mean to say you're trying to hear their voices when I'm trying to understand what that would mean in reality. So you attend the rally and everyone has said this, and then what?
Yeah, well, then you implement it, right? So, I mean, during the BLM, what kind of the height of those that movement, and it's kind of subsided, unfortunately, a little bit. But EPS, there was one point where I saw a really poorly timed tweet about a new tank that EPS just bought, right? During,
I remember that, too.
Right, and so. like EPS needs to be held accountable for stuff like that, and they need to listen to that. And I've been really frustrated with some of the lack of listening. I mean, I work alongside a lot of police in transit, and I know what they've been through, and they've been through a really hard year this year, like a really hard year.
Wow.
But that doesn't excuse not listening to the marginalized voices. There's still a power structure there.
Are you going to break the power structure? Do you have the powers as
well, I think you call that out, right? You call that
Oh.
out, you start from the top, and you hold people accountable for that. So I've been really frustrated with that. And there's the framework, and I'm sorry, I'm a little bit my memory has kind of gone a little bit on that, but there is the framework of the Community Safety and Wellbeing Task Force that has their 14 recommendations. Unfortunately, there was some pushback by members there, but I mean, this is what you do as leaders, right? You listen and you.
Are you going to try to enforce that 14 recommendations? Would Councillor Morgan try to find a consensus to make sure that report is implemented?
Do you need consensus to make that implemented? I think,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
in terms of council members, you do, but I think it's really important to get it done. So
when you think about your politics, do you see yourself more as Mike Nichols or I can't remember his name now. He's such a lovely councillor. Would you pattern? Would you look up to, so maybe not look up to, whose influence as a councillor now do you envy or covet? Any councillor right now that
I've talked to a lot of councillors actually in this election cycle. I've had meetings with Councillor Cartmel, Councillor Knack, Councillor
Andrew Knack is the one. Sorry, Andrew Knack. Yeah. Do you find that your policies are patterned like Andrew's or Mr. Nicol?
Do I find myself identifying with Councillor Knack or Councillor Nicol?
Yes.
I'll tell you something. I've been really frustrated, and I'm pretty open about this. I've been really frustrated with the harassment that's going on in council lately. I'm a city employee. I keep saying I'm a city employee. Obviously, I'm a city employee. I've watched people get harassed. I've watched people harass others, and I've seen kind of the process for reconciliation of that. And when you don't take that seriously as a leader in our city, whether you're a councillor or you're a mayor, I'm not sure how you expect your employees to take that seriously. So I've been really frustrated with that. I'd probably leave it there, but I expect more out of our leadership. So, and you know, whether this person is right or wrong in some of the stuff they're saying, and they may make some good points. How you deliver that and how you respect others is almost equally important, and the process around that. Everybody deserves to feel safe in their workplace, right? So,
Tyson, thank you.
I wanted to jump back to environment real quick here.
Okay, sure.
One of the key points in your
sorry, John, we're moving you from.
No, this is fun.
Dancing you up and down.
One of the key points here is you're pushing for the planting of 2 million trees within city limits. Expectation that establish trees protected new developments. That's great, but the city's already got a plan for that. They've been pushing for 2 million trees. How does your plan differ?
Oh, it doesn't differ. That's what we need to do. So I'm fully supportive of that. So
you're not actually creating a new platform item here or trying to do something different. You're just going to promote the existing program.
I mean, our tree here. I back onto the southwest leg of or the southwest, the new hospital grounds there. We had a lot of trees there already, established trees that have been torn down. So, how do we fight climate change when we're, constantly tearing down trees for development, established trees, and then just replanting again. It'd be really nice to be protecting, and I've kind of been hearing some talk about protecting established trees with bylaws and sort of permitting and stuff like that. Ideally, that's what we keep doing, and but also I think trees are a good climate change fighter. And when we're kind of choking on smoke every summer now from forest fires, this is a good proactive measure. So I'm fully supportive of it.
Okay, cool. I guess more for me, like when I'm reading your platform, it seems like it's something new that the city isn't doing currently, but they are. So I was just curious there. But if you're supportive of the current program,
no, I'm supportive of that, and I just want to be clear on that as a policy platform. So I'm not going to be pushing against it. So
excellent.
Ideally, we can plant 4 million trees, but
that could be a thing. T, do you want me to keep going?
Oh yeah, you're the griller. Yes, please.
I'm the griller.
Clearly, you're the griller, Jason.
I'm
bad cop and she's good cop. Let's go into heritage buildings.
Sorry?
Let's go into heritage buildings real quick here.
Great.
Just bring it up real quick here. You want to protect heritage buildings and infrastructure, proper funding and restoration. Great. What about so in this, what I want to understand here more specifically is, do you want to fund the restoration of all all heritage buildings that are currently in Edmonton? Because there's a lot of derelict ones right now, right?
Yeah, no, for sure. I think we can do a better job of it. I weep for the downtown El Mirador getting torn down. We need probably stronger protections in that area. So heritage buildings to kind of mark the landscape and mark a city and make it unique and give us interest in our city. So and kind of tie us to our city as well. So I think we can do better. And I look for that. And every time we tear down one of our older, more kind of unique buildings, I wonder why. So
fair enough. So I guess where I'm trying to go with this is that what about what's called derelict heritage buildings, and these exist downtown, where the owner doesn't really care and is actually hiding behind the heritage protection status so that he doesn't have to knock down his house. And as a result, this derelict building goes unmaintained, becomes a hotspot for people seeking shelter downtown. Now you've got an abandoned property that's lowering tax values around it, a source for social disruption. What's your approach to dealing with that situation where people are hiding behind that heritage protection, and they're not? They don't actually want to take that restoration funding. They don't want to do anything to the building. They just want they're just using it as a reason to not have to do anything for their property because it's now a protected heritage, cherished object, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's why we lose so many of our heritage assets, right? In this city. I think we could probably do increased enforcement on that, whether it's fines or working with the property owner to get these things up to standard, up to code. So
what if the property owner isn't interested in that because it is their land, they're privately owned, right?
Mm-hmm. No, for sure.
But it's impacting the residents around it. So is there do you have any solutions?
Well, when you get that heritage status, there are certain benefits to that too, right? So, again, kind of holding our landlords to account, both that are present and oftentimes not present in that as well. So, again, I'd like to see greater protections of that, and not. Again,
what I'm trying to get here is you want greater protections for the heritage properties itself, but you also want to hold those landowners to account. So,
absolutely.
Where's the balance? What's this like? Is there a policy here that you to deal with that, or?
I guess we'd have to look at that a little more for sure.
Have to look at it. Okay,
yeah.
Sure. Right. Back to infill a little bit here. So a lot of your policies around maximizing space, promoting high, medium density. Great in mature neighborhoods, generally speaking. A lot of these neighborhoods were built with small streets, no garage parking. Some do, some don't. And as we increase the density, we're going to we already have a car problem in this city to a degree. Like it's a lot of cars. But by promoting more of these high, medium density housing areas, Do you foresee, or at least do you have an idea of how you're going to manage the increased amount of cars in these areas that were not designed to handle that sort of workload?
Yeah, no, absolutely. One of the really big frustrations I've had this year is this bus network redesign. I come from a transit background, and
I'm talking about cars, and everyone in their red. Oh, sorry. I guess you're trying to go into buses there. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no worries, Tyson. All good. No, part of that bus network redesign was a loss of bus service in a number of communities, community routes, and in favor of increased frequency on our main routes. So, which is a good thing. We want more frequency. Encourage more ridership. People don't want to wait half an hour for a bus when they can have a more frequent bus coming their way. But our some of those smaller communities have really lost out, and when we're trying to get people into buses or into denser communities, you need to provide options, right? So I think we need to return to community bus routes that aren't the on-demand buses that are sitting in parking lots and save on foods and Freshcos and Safeways. And I think that's probably part of the solution there. Is that bus piece there for sure. So
do you have any particular incentives in mind for people? Because a lot of these people, the bus routes obviously just don't go where they need to go, or it's quicker to go in a car, and they own a car. So how are you going to incentivize these people in this new medium high density area that haven't gone on a bus for 10 years because they've always had a car? How are you going to incentivize them to change that lifestyle, change that habit?
Well, I think there's some people that they look for that kind of lifestyle, right? So if I can ride a bus or a train, I would, and oftentimes I do pick that over driving when I can. So I could see that, as I said, with the return to community bus routes being kind of key. I think, and accessibility in that respect, I think you'll see greater use.
Sure.
And that works with a lot of other transportation options as well. So I'm hearing a lot of opposition to bike lanes right now. I've never been against bike lanes at all. I think we could probably do it a little better, but people need a variety of options for their transportation needs, whether that's bike lanes or buses or their personal motor vehicles.
So essentially, and what I take away from this line of questioning is that as we get denser, you want to increase the amount of transit options available to people.
Oh yeah. Transit is really lacking right now in the city. So,
right, Tyson, let me jump in here to ask about. Do you know about the problem of homelessness is in your ward?
It's we're really blind to it in this section of the city, unfortunately. So, or fortunately, we don't have a lot of it. We have some. But we're pretty far removed, and it's something that's really close to my heart. I said I work on transit, and I've seen it firsthand, the kind of the trauma that people are experiencing, and kind of the offloading of that responsibility onto our front line, onto our transit system, especially during COVID when people had nowhere else to go. They didn't feel safe in shelters. There was an uptick in desperation and people that lost jobs, lost homes, suffering from mental health issues or addictions. It's
John, as councillor, how different would your solutions be from what currently obtains? I know you're far removed from it. You just said, what solutions are you going to prefer that may be different or different from what obtains right now? Because you've seen how bad the problem is as an LRT controller.
Yeah, no, for sure. So yeah, I was kind of getting to that. That's again, we've been offloading it and going back to it, just being really reactive as a city to this problem. Yeah, absolutely, Leah. It's just because you see it, can't see it doesn't mean it doesn't exist, and it certainly does. I think we need to be worried about or kind of focusing on harm reduction. We need to be focusing on safe consumption sites across the city. Safe consumption sites, and this, I'm going off on a little bit of a tangent here, but safe consumption sites not only help our homeless population, they help our housed population too. And there's people that are in in my neighborhood, like blocks away from me, that are suffering from addiction, suffering from overdoses.
I'm still not getting your answer, John.
I'm kind of going
you're
off.
losing me here. What are the solutions?
Again, I think
No
we need to be looking.
Or
Sorry?
what are your specific solutions to homelessness that is far from you? What is Councillor Morgan going to do about homelessness? Anything different or the same?
Well, again, I think we need to be focusing on these aspects of safe consumption sites and harm reduction, but we also need to focus on housing first and transitional housing and that's kind of and supportive housing.
Okay.
I think we're paying for this for our lack of these kind of services, regardless. Again, some of the trauma that I've seen as out in the field, operating the LRT, the trauma that my operators have seen, the trauma that I think police are seeing and fire are seeing. My wife works EMS as well, so I'm hearing the stories, I'm seeing it firsthand, and I've been personally really.
On your own website, John, you say studies find that these issues like the opioid, all the joblessness, substance abuse, mental health, all these issues are better and more successfully addressed once the individual has secure housing. I'm still not getting what you're going to do differently. Tyson, have I missed it? Do I need more coffee? I don't know.
No, you can keep grilling him. That's a nice change.
Yeah, well, again, I mean, housing first. So some of this stuff is the city's doing good work on. Unfortunately, some of this stuff does fall to the provincial or other levels of government. But again, I think we're paying for this stuff regardless. So I think we can do better as a city. I think, instead of being reactive, instead of sending in police to deal with homelessness, or instead of downloading it onto our transit system.
I'm beginning to see what you're saying. Okay. Sorry, carry on. I think I'm beginning to get it. Carry on. Sorry. Go on.
Yeah, no, instead of just sending it down to our front line, again, be proactive about it. Let's get the people homeless or houses. Let's fund some of this stuff, because again, it's killing our people for sure. So
okay, Leah is saying, what about wait lists for services? People waiting years for support.
Yeah.
And intervention. Do you want to comment on that?
Yeah, people are waiting for years, and it sucks.
What are you going to do?
It really sucks.
How are you going to help this problem? Have you thought about this?
Yeah, no, I think we need to put more money into that, into the housing, into housing and into.
Thanks, Leah. Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
Oh, wow. I just said thank you to Leah. That's so insightful, that comment. The people waiting for years just to be supportive. I also see what you're saying. The problem is provincial, right? Not Leah saying money is not the answer. I love you, Leah. She's grilling you right now. Money is not the answer.
But it's a different approach, right? It's a different approach to homelessness, and then we need to be more compassionate and understanding and engaged with that population. I wept when we had that Becca, we went downtown by the baseball diamond, or by the baseball stadium there. And I don't want to see people living in tents in minus 40-degree weather, but I certainly don't want to be just pushing people out without kind of properly engaging them and just dumping them into the Shaw Conference Center, without the supports they need. Right. So, real more an engaged response to that. I've been doing some volunteering lately with some of the harm reduction groups downtown, and kind of seeing some of that stuff firsthand from a different perspective than what I've seen it already. And but then again, that's a bit more engaged, a bit more working with the population that is living in, right? So it's easy for me to say, again, like, I mean, I live a very privileged life, right? And it's easy for me to just say, this is what we should do, but without kind of properly engaging these communities and hearing the complexity of their lives and what they're dealing with. I'm not sure how you. Yeah, because I don't know how you do it in everything. Sorry,
I'm not saying homelessness as a community problem. Well, there are individuals who become homeless, and they're in different parts of the city. So you may not. Oh, I see. You just said homeless. Maybe I should ask you to clarify that. Homelessness as a community problem. Is it a community problem?
none of us are very far from homelessness. Like none of us.
Right.
And yeah, and so it's a citywide issue, and I think we need to all be stepping up more. Even if you don't see it like in your neighborhood, you're going downtown, you're working downtown, you're seeing it downtown.
Is it a problem that affects a group more than the other, John? Is this what they're telling you when you go knocking on doors?
But I think it affects people differently, right? And I've been trying to push the severity of the problem at the doorsteps. I'm not hearing it very often at the doorsteps, but it's an issue that really concerns me because of our inaction, and so I've been pushing it quite heavily. So, talking to people with lived experiences, said, yeah, I've been downtown a lot lately, doing some.
What do they tell you that they need? What do they tell you that they need? Sometimes
it's just a sandwich. Sometimes it's a bathroom, or just somebody to talk to them.
Tyson.
My turn. So one thing, John, you ready for this?
I don't know if I'm being called the NIMBY or if
I don't know what that is, Leo. What are you trying to say?
NIMBY means not in my backyard. It can mean a bunch of things in this situation. Who knows?
It's in everybody's backyard, though. This is a situation that's it has gotten so bad, and I don't think there's any recovery right now without proactively dealing with this and again working with the community. This is a huge thing for me, and it's really we've been way too reactive in this. We need to be more proactive and more engaged with that community to kind of hear their concerns and stop just pushing them from tent to or from camp to camp. So we're the cycle is never ending, and it's traumatic for them. It's traumatic for me working in transit. It's traumatic to our front line, and it needs to end. So,
Tyson.
All right, so ready, John, for this?
Yeah, for sure.
One thing that I was very conspicuously absent from your platform is anything regarding taxation. I have questions.
Okay, yeah, let's talk about taxation.
All right, so let's dive into the tax distribution of Edmonton. So we've got half the income comes from businesses, half from residences. Would you change that mix? Would you? You've got a bit of a pro local economy and finance items here that I want to touch on a little bit here. But are you happy with the current mix? Would you change it? Would you reduce? Do you see any of your platform items benefiting from a change in that tax structure?
Currently, I'm happy with the mix right now. So I think we need. That said, I think we need to be advocating for a return to kind of a city funding structure from the province. I know it's all one tax base, but we cities are starving right now, and currently the only way we're getting our funding is it's either fees or property taxes, right? And so we need to be advocating to the province and other levels of government to properly fund our cities. So majority of Canadians live in cities, and we're providing a lot of services that we're struggling with providing. So yeah, I think that's part of a component of all of this is getting that extra revenue from other levels of government.
Okay. And then I guess point number 4 here, it says advocacy and coordination with other cities for return to a proper funding framework. Is that what you were just touching on there?
Yeah, that's
talking
what
about businesses.
So, I think we can also, though, like we so here's the thing. So we build our communities right now in kind of silos, right? So we have our commons and then we have our residential areas. I think we need to be mixing those a bit more. Our big money comes in, or bigger money comes in from business than residential properties, right? And if you kind of mix those together, I think you can find greater savings. So even just looking at how we build our roads are, the roads that are outside my house right now are 4 or 5 lanes wide in a residential area, and those, maintaining that stuff costs money, right? And our property taxes aren't necessarily reflecting that that cost appropriately, right? So there's utilities involved in that as well. So
do you feel that the residential taxes should be a bit higher to cover this cost?
I think we make our communities maybe a little more compact, bit more mixed use as well, and that kind of reflect a better understanding of how our cities are built or should be built and funded. So I'm not going to sit here and say that we need greater taxes. I mean, people are starving right now and really hurting at homes, and there's a lot of lost jobs, but we also need to pay for things. So that's where I'm at right now.
That's where you're at right now. Okay, cool. Next one is around. Actually, T, if you got something, I gotta recharge a little bit.
Okay, John, how are you doing?
You guys just going through my website and just asking?
Oh, well,
Yeah.
Looking for holes, frankly.
This is all about you, John,
Do it.
and your excellent.
I should have waited a day longer to launch my
platform
new
after
website.
this.
It would have been much easier on me.
Do you feel we're being too soft?
No, you guys are being great.
Yeah.
I'm running out of water though. So.
Okay, so
I got
It's
maybe a more controversial question. So on your platform here, it says that you would recognize Pride Corner. Now I live near it, so I know what you're talking about as a YAG official designation. Well, what if other groups want to be designated as well? Like where do you? Is that a universal policy of inclusivity? Would if other groups sought similar recognition, or is this a case by case
as it comes? So that's that corner, as you know, I'm sure you know.
Everyone knows that corner.
Yeah, that came up as a kind of a positive response to hate, honestly, to hate, and there's a big push for that right now, and I'm all for it. I come from a family of two mothers. I have a number of trans family members as well. As I said, I'm not in the community, but I'm very supportive of that. If I had seen that 20 years ago when I was growing up out in the country in Devon, Alberta, I probably would have felt a lot safer in this province. And so, anything we can do to kind of make our friends and family and neighbors and community that are in the LGBTQIA2S plus community, then I'm all for it. So, and there's still a lot of hate out there. So I've seen it in my neighborhood, people ripping down pride flags, stealing BLM signs, and we still need to recognize that there is that element out there that's anti, unfortunately. So.
I think the portion that Tyson may want you to answer is, how open are you to recognizing other groups that probably want recognition? How left or liberal would a Councillor Morgan be?
How left or liberal?
Or are you in either direction, really? You kind of answered it, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, again, I think you can approach it every situation differently, but I think it's a good cause, and it reflects our diversity of our city, right? So if there's other groups that have put in the work like that, then I guess we talk about it, right? So again, this Pride Corner is something that's come out as a positive response to hate and vitriol against the community, right? A community that's already suffered a lot of oppression and violence, and so I think it's a good cause, and I'm all supportive. I've never got the chance to dance there yet, but me. But
it seems like a good having a party there.
I don't know if anybody wants to see me dance there.
I got another one here. All right, so another theme in your platform here is food security. Now,
sorry, is what?
Food security.
Food security. Yeah. Okay.
You've mentioned it a few times. You talk about food forests and integrating that into community design. Now, nobody else is talking about this, and I'd like to point out that almost half of the food produced in Canada is, either lost or waste. So why is there why do you view that there's some sort of food security crisis on the horizon that you need to integrate this into things?
Well, I think, with our environment the way it is these days, I think there's a lot of concerns around our farms and our farmland. As I said, we're kind of surrounded by really good soil, really good farmland, and I think it needs protection. We can't forever expand our cities. Ideally, we want to live within our footprint, our current footprint, if we can. So I think it's definitely something we need to at least be cognizant of. Food forests are a great way that you can provide locally sourced food as well. You can provide food for people living rough, living on the streets as well. And so these are all good things that.
Do you feel this is a campaign issue that people are thinking about on the doors?
Sorry?
Like, is this something people are talking about when you go door knocking? Is their food security, and they want to have food forests in that?
That's something that I.
This is more okay.
I think it's more logical, so that I'd be pushing for as well. So, yeah.
What do people talk to you about? Actually, I'm kind of
people
curious.
Yeah. Sorry, T. I interrupted you. My apologies.
Yeah. What do people talk to you about?
People are. I think the biggest frustration I've heard, and I'm sure my competition could tell you the same, is that people feel not very engaged right now. Not heard. I mean, even when you try to implement new things like 40 an hour speed limits in the city, or new garbage and waste disposal, or a new bus network redesign, people feel kind of lost and not heard or not told what's going on. It always seems to kind of boil down to that. And again, you get people on board when you explain things, when you kind of not only what you want to do, but why you want to do it, but also listen to their concerns around it and maybe involve them in the process. So that's it's huge. That's what I've been hearing the most out of anything. So I mean, you also hear stuff. People don't like bike lanes, as I said before, and you hear concerns around crossings or sidewalk conditions. Over in Sky Rattler right now, as I said before, I think I said before anyways, I'm kind of lost now, but over in Sky Rattler, one I keep going back to is we've lost our bus service along Saddleback Road in that area. And when you don't, and the sidewalks in that area are really, really in poor condition too. So you got a community there that's predominantly older, lower income, relies on transit, and now you're asking them to walk farther. You're going to ask them to walk to 23rd Ave or 111th Street to get to their bus over sidewalks that are treacherous. Not treacherous for me necessarily, but they're treacherous for people that maybe have some challenges for mobility, right? So I think there's that disconnect between what people's needs are and kind of the decisions that are being made right now.
Okay, John, we're running out of time. I hear you.
Already?
We need to, yeah. It's nearly 9 o'clock. We need to. I've got several more questions, and he's got questions too. So sorry. Now,
it's fine, T. It's fine.
Is it true that when people don't care about these elections, is that what you're feeling or what you're hearing, that people don't care? 1 and 2, how do you get people to care, to go out and vote for Councillor Morgan? Did you understand my question?
How do I get people to go out and vote for Councillor Morgan?
Yeah, to vote. To vote for you. But first question is it true that people ultimately don't care about these elections? That people are just, it makes no difference anyway. Do you feel that way? Do people tell you that?
I've had the door slammed on me maybe 2 or 3 times so far in this, and I've between myself and my team, we've knocked on about 4,500 doors so far this summer. I think people care, and
people are engaged.
People really want is to be heard and listened to, and engaged with, right? So people are happy once you're there to not only talk to them but hear what they have to say. So. And this is the best part. This is the best part of campaigning is getting out there and talking to people. So
how do you do that
happy to do it.
successfully during COVID as well? How do you do that during COVID?
How do you do? Sorry,
How
Gordon.
have you been talking to people during the pandemic? Do you step away, or you, I don't know, how do you do it?
Yeah, well, my team is always masked, and if not, they should be. I've been pretty clear about that. So, you know, have them masked, socially distanced. You know, respecting people's boundaries. You know, if we don't have symptoms, we're not going out there. I've worked all through COVID out in the field. Is that I either work in the control center or I'm out in the field dealing with train issues in the LRT, and I've been out there and I know what it's like. I know people's fears, and I try to be really respectful of that. It's not about Councillor Morgan. It's about you know, respecting people and their voice. So yeah. Okay,
Tyson, I've got one final question, but do you want to grill?
I don't really have grills. More, well, okay, I guess I got one grill, one left.
One grill?
Yeah. So
Go for it, Tyson.
So city council is a strategic oversight position, generally speaking. You're making big picture ideas. So you're making big picture decisions. You're considering macro issues. You're not really managing things directly on a day-to-day basis. And you are a extremely well experienced frontline worker, and you experience the day-to-day all the time. What makes you think that your skills are suited for the big picture as opposed to the day-to-day picture that you're used to?
One of the frustrations that I've had over this year and a half was the fact that nobody knows what's going on out there right now. And this has been my perspective. I mean, I can't tell you for sure that's what's going on, but dealing with some of the trauma that I've had to deal with as a frontline employee, and kind of a not much of a recognition of that has been really frustrating to me, and I'm dealing with that and kind of processing that now that I've been away from work for 2-3 months now. I guess 3 months now. I think that perspective is really important. As a, you know, you're right. City council's not managing the day-to-day operations of the city, but they do have the oversight. And when your top management's not recognizing that trauma too, and when city council's not recognizing that, it really demoralizes your workforce. And I think it's missing. And so that's what I bring, you know, that understanding and recognition of what we're going through out there right now. It's really easy to manage anything, an organization, a city, when life is hunky-dory. But when push comes to shove and we're dealing with these big existential crises like we're dealing with right now, this is when leaders step up, right? So and we look. This is when we need you, right? So I think that's important. On a lighter note, I think that you know, some of the decisions that get made don't always reflect the reality on the ground too. So you know, I won't go too much into some of that, but you know, I've as a guy that's operating the LRT system, I wonder sometimes why this whatever decision came down as you know, we got. I won't go into it too much, but I do see some disparities in understanding of what of a system, at least in the world that I sit in transit, an understanding of that, of how it works, and then, you know, those decisions that get made at the high levels. So
this last question is more of a curiosity. Your platform is, let's say, very orange.
I'm looking more for grilling, Tyson. Can we go
curiosity though?
More grills or?
I'm done. I got it. You survived.
Okay.
All right. The curiosity though is your platform is, let's call it very orange, and your color is blue. Do you find there's just like when you go to doors that people just see your blue color and don't want to listen to what you have to say?
I talked to CBC about this today, actually, and there'll be something coming out next week about it. But and I have put out a video on that as well. I got asked yesterday, who I'm voting for, who I voted for provincially and federally in the last election, and who I'm voting for coming up here in the federal election. And I'm not attached to any political parties. I've had meetings with MLAs, and my current MLA is NDP, and I've talked to Thomas Dang quite a bit, and some other other MLAs and MPs previous, right? So you got to work with anybody that's in those other levels of government. You got to work with your other councillors, and so you got to work with your mayor, despite who he or she is. So
Right.
you got to find some commonalities and ways to work with people. What I like about municipal politics is that you're not tied to that partisanship and party banners that maybe make you vote a certain way. You can vote your conscience. You can vote the way your constituents and your residents feel. You can vote alongside that and stand up for them over, kind of towing that party line. So you're right. It's a very progressive platform that I have. I'm very proud of it, but it's not tied to that. My color blue is strategic because I don't know if you can see, but I have blue eyes. So.
Blue suit too. Yeah. And then one final question. You go down that just sparked by your comments there. Have you signed the AUMA pledge then?
I'd have. Let me get it for you here.
There you go.
Okay. All right.
I got it posted to my wall right here.
So here's the problem. I can't grill you on that because you actually signed the thing you were talking about. So
there you go.
That sucks for me.
Respectful behavior, demonstrate transparency, maintain independence and nonpartisanship. I have a lot of frustrations around money in politics and undue influence, and again, keeping elections local. I think we can be good advocates in other levels and push for things that your residents and your constituents ask for, even citywide. But again, I think being free of that partisanship is really important and a real benefit to municipalities. So,
all UT.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just wondering, we're an independent media company, and just real quickly, because I have my final question. This is not it. My penultimate question. How accessible are you going to be to independent media companies like us once you get in? How do we know you not see my number and I'm not speaking to T today? I'll call her over Christmas or something. How accessible?
That's the problem, right? I mean, people don't feel that you can, be accessible at certain levels. This is my second event with Ladies Corner magazine, and I've always had a good time. I know we had some technical difficulties the last time, but and this time I'm honestly being grilled a little too much, Tyson. But it's fine.
We're friends now. This is how I make friends.
Yeah.
No hard feelings.
I look forward to a long-lasting friendship.
As he looks at me,
you've already said it, so it's going to happen.
That's the spirit.
You can ask people in my ward. Is that I'm very, very, very involved in my community. I'm a community president. I'm community soccer coach. I sit on my kids' school council. I used to run the Rutherford Facebook page. I believe in community and the people.
Okay, sorry, I've got to go to the final question. We have 2 minutes more. Sure. Okay, so did your kids return to school today, or are they returning tomorrow, or your kids are not of school age? And the reason why I'm asking you this is, should we be seeing a mask mandate, a provincial mask mandate? Where are you on that? Yeah,
we should. So my kids go back to school on Friday. It's a staggered entry. So we should be seeing a mask mandate. Cases are in the thousands right now, and people are dying again. I know I've heard from a few people sending me emails and stuff about it and pushing back a little bit about it. But, anything we can do as leaders to kind of mitigate this, all the better. So I've been wearing I didn't stop wearing the mask really. I tried a little bit for like a day or two, and then it's not appropriate. So not with numbers the way they are. And until our kids are under 12 can get vaccinated, or at least have the option to get vaccinated, just put on a mask. I don't know why it's such a big deal at all. At all.
Okay, we must end it there.
Get vaccinated too. That's my PSA.
Okay, what's a PSA?
Public service announcement.
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah.
Oh, Leah said something nice. I think it takes courage to run in an election. So thank you,
Thank you,
John.
Leah, and thank you for grilling me earlier too. I appreciate it. So
Thanks, Leah, for watching till the end. So that was the grill. We hope to see you next time. Goodbye.